Hi, this is Prashant Kanha, advocate, and in this video, I have with me advocate Apurv Prasad. And in this video, we are going to give an overview of the Assisted Reproductive Technology Act of 2021. Just to give a deeper insight of the various provisions, we have made several other videos. So, after you see this video, you will have the idea of the law, but for a better understanding, you may go through those videos as well. So let's begin with Apurv, that what was the requirement or what were the circumstances that led to the passing of this act, or in short, that why we need this act actually. Yes, Apurv.
Right. So, in a lot of circumstances, it is observed that a lot of couples, when they try to conceive, are not able to conceive naturally, owing to their infertility or whatever reason. And in such circumstances, the ART procedure can be used to obtain a child when the same is not possible through natural means. Now, even though the ART Act was passed in the year 2021, ART procedure in India is not a new concept.
Yeah.
It is being followed in India for a very long time. And
Yeah, like in 1978, the first test tube baby Kanupriya in Kolkata was born.
yeah.
And it's been like 22 plus 22, 44 years actually. And we don't have a law.
Yeah. So there can be multiple forms of ART procedure, like there's IVF, there's ICSI, there's cryptopreservation of human embryos and gametes. However, IVF remains one of the most practiced procedures in
Yeah, in
the country.
NCR we see like after every 4-5 kilometer, or IVF ads are everywhere in fact, but the clinics are located.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So likewise, so when we look at the stats, in the year 2000, there were only 5,500 IVF cycles which were conducted in the whole country. However, when you look at the stats in the year 2021, we can observe that there were almost 2.5 lakhs IVF cycles which were conducted. So we can see how significant the growth has been.
Yeah, and in fact, in the remotest area, or just in the remotest area or in the rural side, we see the people become so desperate that the people believe in magic remedies. And in fact, the time there was a ban on magical remedies act was there, and so I mean, not having a baby can make people really desperate, and in those situations, they can become, these clinics can exploit them in the name of these, whether they are getting any kind of remedy and whether they are getting any kind of medicine which will be effective. So I think just to regulate all those things, the hospital, the doctors, this act was very much needed.
Yeah.
So Apurv, like what are the different organizations, institutions which will be regulating this practice in the country?
Right. So when we speak about different institutions or different stakeholders which are going to be influenced by the enforcement of the act, let us try to divide the stakeholders into two categories. First being the establishments, and then second being the people who are involved. So we'll talk about the
means the regulator and the
people who are going to be impacted by this.
People going to be impacted by it, and then the medical establishments.
Yes.
So the regulator, the medical establishment, and ultimately the end user, like the patient.
So when we talk about the national level, at the national level, they have created the national boards. At the state level, right now we're just trying to introduce. So at the national level, at the state level, there are state boards which are created, and state boards have the authority to establish appropriate authorities.
So like that,
there can be one or more than one appropriate authorities in a state.
So at the apex level, we have the National Assistant Reproductive Technology and Surrogacy Board, and then thereafter we have like the state ART and Surrogacy Board, and then thereafter there are appropriate authorities.
Right.
So you mean to say these national boards will frame the rules?
Yes.
The state boards will execute the rules, and the appropriate authorities, basically like an inspector, which will inspect, see and interrogate, or rather investigate if there are any complaints.
Okay. They'll investigate the functioning of the ART boards and clinics.
Yeah.
ART banks and clinics. So like you said, national boards are mainly for advisory purpose and to create policies. State boards, their essential job is to oversee the functioning of the appropriate authorities and send a consolidated data back to the national board, so that they have an idea about that the whole that there is a proper implementation of the whole act in the whole country.
And at the national level, I think they also have this national ART and surrogacy registry, which will register which will be a depository or the registry for every ART clinic, surrogacy clinic, and every details of the doctors, detail of the clinic, detail of the commissioning couple, detail of the surrogate mother, detail of the donor, everything.
Every small little detail will be mentioned in the national registry.
Detail of the child also, no? Who will be born of that process.
Yes. And the nature and type of services which are being provided by the ART banks, what kind of practices are being conducted, all kinds of information are
so the standard and the facilities that, or the standard facilities, qualifications for all these things will be decided by the national board in form of regulations and rules.
Yes.
So there is a provision for registration of these ART clinics and banks. So how does that happen, and which are the authority to deal with that?
So first of all, let us try to understand that there were a lot of ART banks and clinics which were operating in the country before 2021. However, the 2021 Act has mandated registration. So each and every ART bank and clinic must get itself registered in the national board. So
with the national registry on ART and surrogacy.
Yeah. So
I think there is this website also, artsurrogacy.gov.in, or official site will open, and on that there is a link for the registration also, the national ART and surrogacy registration website, from where you can find all the details about the national board and also the details about the national registry, right?
So registry actually happens from the national board through the appropriate authority. So now in this case, appropriate authority has been
with the national registry controlled by the national board.
Yes.
Yeah. So registration happens with the national registry, which is under control of the national board,
and it has to be done through the appropriate authority.
The appropriate authority. The appropriate authority has the right to inspect and check whether all the
ART banks and clinics
are fulfilling the requirements set by the national board.
Yes. So now when we talk about registration, the appropriate authorities have been granted certain obligations and duties with regard to registration. So first and foremost, it has the power to grant, cancel or suspend any registration. But with that power comes certain responsibilities. So every application that is made to the appropriate authority must be attended within 30 days.
Within 30 days. So there is a limitation that, the appropriate authority cannot abuse its position for ulterior consideration or anything. So there is a limitation that within 30 days the registration has to be done.
Attended to.
It's the appropriate authority which has to take a decision within 30 days that whether it is registering the ART clinic or the bank or not, and if it is not registering, then it will have to give the reasons for same. And even if in 30 days, if they are unable to take any decision with respect to the registration or rejection, they can take an extension of 7 days, but that too with reasons that why they are taking that extension, what needs to be further verified.
Yes.
So
in case an ART bank or clinic is dissatisfied with the decision rendered by the appropriate authority, then they can approach the state government saying that no, our claim is legitimate and we should be granted registration.
And in that you can take the grounds of arbitrariness without application of mind or perverse. When you call perverse, you mean to say that the documents say that standards are being fulfilled, but without referring to those documents, the registration has not been granted. Though any rejection or grant of registration cannot be done without inspecting that ART clinic. So the order of rejection has to be with full reasons. Every reason will have to be given by the appropriate authority, and if the appropriate authority is not giving reasons, then that can also be a ground. And moreover, if the registration is going to be not granted, then in that scenario, one opportunity of hearing or opportunity to fulfill those documents which are required should be given.
Yes.
You cannot, just take a decision or decide that these things are not available. Bring it into the notice of the ART clinic or bank that you are not fulfilling these requirements. Fulfill them, and then again we will see.
Yes. So the first appeal lies before the state government or the central government. And thereafter, if the ART bank or clinic is still dissatisfied with the decision rendered by the state government or the central government,
then the remedy of the writ petition will always lie there.
Yeah. So a writ petition can be filed likewise
before the High Court.
Now, the ART clinics and banks also have certain duties and responsibilities with regard to maintenance of their premises as well as the commissioning couple or the people they're handling. So first and foremost, it is the responsibility of the ART banks and clinics to ensure that the couple as well as the donor as well as the surrogate mother are eligible for the same, for the process. So whatever medical tests and requirements need to be done would be done by the ART bank and clinic, and thereafter they would give a certificate of eligibility to all of these people, so that which is basically claiming that they are fit for the process, medically fit for the process.
So for that, various regulations framed by the national board will come into effect, about which we will be discussing in another video. But overall, the thing is that every commissioning couple or the donor or the surrogate will have to go through certain tests. There would be certain certificates that will be granted, and in fact even the commissioning couple will need to have a permission from the state board.
And thereafter, when we talk about
professional counseling.
Professional counseling. So that is very important.
Yeah.
So a lot of commissioning couples, when they go to AIT banks and clinics, they're not very well aware of the process. So it is one of the biggest duties of the AIT banks and clinics to give a proper professional counseling to the commissioning parents as well as to the surrogate mother, and to advise them based on their medical reports and what is fit for their body, to advise them what is the best procedure for them, which is in their best interest.
So I think in this, when it comes to this thing, counseling thing, so in counseling, what is the expectation from the doctor? So in legal sense, if we talk about, the expectation would be that the doctor or the counseling person, whosoever is counseling about the ART procedure, he should explain about everything, that what the procedure will be conducted, what has been the success rate of that thing, what are the side effects on the body, what kind of medication will be given, what other biological changes will come in the body of the mother or the person whosoever will be taking that treatment. And thereafter, a time, a 1 or 2 day time should be given to that couple to think over it. This may not be provided in law, but since we are making this video for awareness purpose, so being a commissioning couple, you should always take your time after discussing everything in first sitting, and then you can approach. That is the meaning of counseling.
So just after that, the AIT banks and clinics are very much obligated to inform the commissioning couple as well as the surrogate mother about the rights of the child which is going to be born. And of course, at the end of the whole process, a discharge certificate must be granted to the commissioning couple as well as the surrogate mother, that all the responsibilities have been cleared. Now the child is a natural child of the commissioning parents.
So the donor will not have any kind of biological right in that child, and whosoever will be the commissioning couple, they will be treated as the biological parent of the of that child, whosoever will be born out of that ART procedure. So the donor person, the donor parent, you can call them a donor parent, but they will have no right with respect to the child, will have no right in their property or in succession of their property. So there are certain restrictions, like since these are ART, assisted reproductive technology, and there would be lot of dealing with the reproductive hormones or reproductive things that human body produces. So once the zygote is formed, oocyte is treated, or the human male sperm is taken, so XY factor can be seen. All these things are possible in today's science, but this law makes it completely bars choosing the sex of the child who will be born. Preemptive sex determination cannot be done. They cannot, a person cannot go and say, okay, since we are doing all these things, so give me a male child. That cannot be even sought by the couple, or cannot be even granted by the doctor, treating doctor. If that happens, then there is a punishment for same against the clinic, against the bank, and against the commissioning couple as well. But this act allows that there can be a predetermination of any genetic disease. So these genetics cure can be done in the genes of the child, where these traits of any disease can be removed, but this predetermination of the sex cannot be done. If there is any offense in this act, the complaint has to be made by the national board, and the national board will be filing a complaint before the magistrate. Depending on the punishment, the complaint will be filed before the magistrate only. And with respect to the offenses and penalties, there are two sections, 32 and 33, in which the offenses have been given, and if there is any contravention of the act, provisions of the act, then these sections can be invoked, where there is a fine and also
punishment.
jail imprisonment. I think this gives a good overview of this act.
Good
And
idea.
now in our other videos on this act we have discussed deeper into this thing with case laws and everything. So hope you like this video. Thank you so much. Thank you, Apurv.
Thank you everybody for watching.